Hey, Cowboys Nation! Welcome back to the channel. NFL Cowboys news today. We're diving into one of the most talked about topics in Dallas Cowboys football right now, the future of the quarterback position. Buckle up, because the Cowboys have just made some big decisions that will affect the roster in a major way. Dak Prescott's future is secure, but what about the backups? Trey Lance, Cooper Rush, and even the possibility of a new draft pick. We're talking about it all. So let's break it down, get into the details, and maybe, just maybe, the Cowboys have a surprise up their sleeve that we're not ready for. Let's go! Okay, so here's the deal. The Dallas Cowboys have been incredibly transparent about their quarterback plans. You might have seen the headlines. The team's brass, including COO Stephen Jones, recently made some major announcements at the NFL Scouting Combine that have a lot of people talking. And trust me, Cowboys fans have opinions. So, let's break this down one player at a time. First up, the man at the top of the depth chart. Dak Prescott. Now, we all know Dak is the face of the franchise, and this year, the Cowboys made a significant financial commitment to him with a salary that could top $60 million per year. That's no small number. In fact, it's one of the highest paid contracts in the NFL. To put it in perspective, Dak's contract is massive. But despite the jaw-dropping number, it doesn't come as a huge surprise. Dak has been the leader of the Cowboys for years now, and he's had his share of ups and downs. But if we're being honest, he's still one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league, and he's the guy Jerry Jones and the front office are committed to. So, when we talk about Dak, we know he's locked in for the long haul. The big question, though, is what does this mean for the backups? And more specifically, what does it mean for the guys behind him on the depth chart, Cooper Rush and Trey Lance? Let's start with Cooper Rush. Now, Rush isn't your typical backup quarterback. In fact, he's stepped up big for the Cowboys in the past when Dak went down with injuries, most notably leading the team to a 4-1 record during the 2022 season. Cowboys fans had a lot of hope for Cooper Rush. But here's the kicker: the team just doesn't know what he's going to cost moving forward. Rush, in 2023, signed a 2-year, $5 million contract. That was a solid deal for a backup, but now that he's heading into free agency, things get tricky. As Stephen Jones mentioned, with Dak taking up such a huge chunk of the salary cap, the Cowboys can't afford to go all in on a backup quarterback. It's a tough balancing act. You want someone reliable like Cooper, but at what cost? Now let's talk about Trey Lance. If you've been following the NFL, you know that Lance has been one of the most intriguing young quarterbacks in the league. Drafted 3rd overall by the San Francisco 49ers just a couple of years ago, Lance was supposed to be the future of the Niners franchise. But as we all know, things didn't go as planned for Lance in San Francisco. Between injuries and the 49ers' decision to move forward with Brock Purdy, Lance found himself traded to Dallas. Some folks thought that Trey Lance would immediately come in and challenge Cooper Rush for the backup role, maybe even develop into the long-term successor to Dak Prescott. But according to Stephen Jones, Dallas loves Lance as a player, but with Dak locked in long-term, Lance may need to look for opportunities elsewhere. The Cowboys are open to the idea of parting ways with him as he heads into free agency. So, what does that mean for Trey? It seems like Lance's future in Dallas could be short-lived. While the Cowboys are fond of his talent, the reality is that they've got Dak Prescott signed for the long term, and Lance will likely be looking for a different role, a place where he can compete for a starting job or at least more playing time. For the Cowboys, though, this could mean moving on from Trey Lance in the coming weeks. And then there's Grier. Grier has been on the Cowboys roster for a while now as a practice squad player, but we've never really seen him get a shot to show what he can do in a real game situation. Some folks are wondering if Grier could be the guy who steps up as the backup quarterback, especially if the team can't reach a deal with Cooper Rush or if Lance moves on. It's a long shot, but in this cap-strapped era, you never know. Grier has shown some potential, and it wouldn't be crazy for the Cowboys to give him a chance to compete for the backup spot. But with all these moving pieces, the question remains, will Grier the right fit, or is there another solution? So what does all of this mean for the Dallas Cowboys in terms of their future at quarterback? Well, the Cowboys have been clear about their intentions to find a developmental quarterback. Stephen Jones recently told reporters that one of the goals this offseason is to draft a young quarterback, someone they can develop over time. The Cowboys don't have a ton of capital to work with in terms of draft picks. They've got some late-round selections, but historically, the Cowboys have struggled to find value at the quarterback position outside of the first round. Stephen Jones even mentioned that he'd be open to using a later-round pick on someone like Louisville's Tyler Shaw, who stands at 6'5", 225 pounds, and has some intriguing physical tools. Shaw is definitely an interesting prospect. He's got good size, a strong arm, and the ability to make plays. But here's the catch: recently, draft expert Dane Brugler has ranked Shaw as the 59th best player on his big board. So, no longer is he a guy you can snag in the late rounds. If the Cowboys are really interested in Shaw or someone similar, they'll have to think about trading up or using a higher pick. It's a gamble, but one that could pay off big time if the Cowboys are able to develop him into something special. If the Cowboys do decide to draft a quarterback, it would be the first time since 2020 that they've selected one. That year, they took Ben DiNucci in the 7th round, but we all know how that turned out. DiNucci has yet to make any significant impact on the team. So, this could be the year the Cowboys finally take a real swing at developing a young quarterback. So, where does that leave the Cowboys and their quarterback situation? It's clear that Dak Prescott is the centerpiece, and the Cowboys are fully committed to him for the foreseeable future. But what about the backups? The Cowboys have tough decisions to make with both Cooper Rush and Trey Lance, and the possibility of bringing in a young, developmental quarterback adds an interesting wrinkle to the mix. Will they pull the trigger on a draft pick? Will they try to keep Rush or move on from Lance? And what about Will Grier? Could he be the surprise dark horse in all of this? One thing's for sure, folks, the Cowboys' quarterback room is far from settled. We'll be keeping a close eye on how this situation develops in the coming weeks and months. What do you think, Cowboys fans? Should the team invest in a backup or go for a young quarterback in the draft? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more Cowboys content. We've got a lot of exciting things coming up as the offseason continues, so stay locked in. Until next time.